Biodiversity is a valuable resource. Ensuring its protection is vital but needs proper funding. We'll now discuss two issues. One, how to raise funds for biodiversity protection, and access and benefit sharing. Lack of funds is seen as a key factor as to why biodiversity goals have not been achieved globally until today. So far, most of the money for biodiversity protection has been provided through the Global Environmental Facility, or GEF. Right now, this money comes from voluntary contributions from developed countries only and is spent mostly in developing countries. Since 2003, the GEF Biodiversity Fund has invested $2.9 billion in developing countries. This sounds like a lot of money, but not enough to achieve the global biodiversity targets. Additional funds are needed, and there are many possible ways on how to finance biodiversity protection in the future. Some argue rich countries should continue to be the only ones to pay. Others say costs could be shared among all countries, even poorer ones. Also, companies and consumers that take advantage from biodiversity and exploit nature could be taken into account. Finding a fair solution is difficult. So the question is, who should supply financial resources for biodiversity protection in developing countries? The term genetic resources is the information in genes all living creatures carry and pass on to their offspring. Genetic resources, as well as traditional knowledge about organisms, their characteristics and appropriate use, can benefit research, industry, and people. While the regions where genetic diversity is highest are mostly developing countries, the scientific and economic exploitation of genetic resources is mostly done in industrialized countries. The Nagoya Protocol is an international treaty that aims to manage the access to genetic resources and the fair sharing of benefits arising from their utilization. If local communities provide traditional knowledge that leads to the identification of a useful genetic resource, they should also benefit. Benefit sharing can be money only, or, for instance, cooperation in research and transfer of new technologies. While the Nagoya Protocol lays out the rules for access and benefit sharing, it also raises questions. An agreement is still to be reached on what to do with the millions of species samples that were collected in developing countries before the Nagoya Protocol. One question is, should users of existing species collections of animals, plants, and microorganisms be allowed to use these already collected genetic resources for the production of goods like new medicine or cosmetics? Another issue relates to the fact that the Nagoya Protocol is tied to state laws and therefore does not apply to genetic resources of marine organisms in the high seas. These resources have no owners and are presently free for everyone, which raises the question, should users of genetic resources from the high seas pay a fee to global biodiversity for being allowed to use them?